I believe that the reason God created man was for management.
Really? I have never heard it put that way.
The first thing is to be honest with yourself. You can never have an impact on society if you have not changed yourself.
God will never allow growth where there is no management.
Wow, wow, wow.
So instead of praying for things from God, pray for the management ability.
Everything I tell you is true. Everything I open my mouth and I say is correct because heaven directs me on what to say. Heaven will tell me and I will tell you it will come to pass in front of your eyes. Not behind you, you will see it happening.
God will withhold things from you if you cannot manage them.
When you look at the facts that something around 1 million people perished as a result of the actions of the British and Russian and Nigerian federal governments.
Vis-a-vis what we see in Nigeria, which is truly not, it should not be surprising. Look, what's happening in Nigeria is barbarous. It's horrible. I mean, it's complete madness, yet it's not a priority. The United States unilaterally could do almost anything it needs to do. It would be a long-term effort, but it could be done. And the United States has the capability. All the elements of power, we have those.
So why not?
It's not a priority. That's the problem. We are committed elsewhere in the world. Black West Africa is not a priority.
Anybody who changes his principles depending on whom he is dealing, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
They can't tell me. No way. When the time comes, it's okay. What stupid country is this? So when you steal, you try somebody's secret. When you lie, you try a secret. When you like, it's in public. What stupid country is that? What stupid country is that, I ask you? When you like, you try in secret. When you like, you try in private. They are killing my people. 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 After killing my people, you tell me what to tell in secret? The person is mad. Completely mad. Tell Buhari, that's what I said. That he is mad. He cannot tell me. He cannot tell me. He's a madman. There's a contempt of court proceedings here. Contempt of court. They don't obey court order. They don't obey court order. You're telling me secret trial. Is the person mad?
I, Nnamdi Kanu, will sacrifice anything sacrificable to make sure that Biafra comes.
We hereby declare no election, no 2023 general election in Biafra land. This no election in Biafra land has been activated. We are going to make it a task that must be done by every Biafran. All measures will be put in place to make sure the adequate civil disobedience is implemented to stop the election in Biafra land.
know the meaning of discovery? It means to bring to light something that is buried on the ground. If you can accept that, then you know that Biafra is coming. There is nothing man can do about it. It's too late. Way, way too late. The countdown has begun. It is 6th day of January 2023, and taking a day away from the countdown to Biafra liberation, freedom, total emancipation of God's people and of every nation trapped under the contraption called Nigeria. And on this 6th day, today being Friday, under the auspices of Biafra Global Network, I welcome you all to this program, live coming to you. And also today we are already moving to the weekend, or already on the weekend, or at the weekend, yes, it's the weekend of the first week of January. And want to appreciate you because it is part of God's desire and will that we all partake of these critical times, and we all see today and see January to the end of it as we count down and as we look forward to our freedom. I want to welcome you to the program today. My name is Kelechi Ambrose, and today we have the program, The Alliance in Focus. And basically, we're going to be looking at the topic, converting Nigeria's criminality into our favorable advantage. Now, most of you know, basically most of you, if not all, because why I said most of you, is that those who still are Nigerians who are not yet intellectuals might not be able to process information very appropriately to actually define or understand what I'm saying. But those of you who understand how criminal Nigeria is, you can understand how desperate we are to leave. And of course, you can process the information here and looking at the opposite side of Nigeria to understand how Biafra would be and what Biafra would be. I want to appreciate you all. We already have two of our guests in the house. I'll be calling them, I'll be bringing them up shortly. But before I do that, I want to appreciate you all wherever you're watching. As soon as you come in, please just like the video and then forward on all your social media platforms. It's not been easy that Biafrans are always here, you know, watching and monitoring and getting information, especially those of you who have been consistent, you know, utilizing your data, utilizing your resources to actually keep in touch with what is going on. And that is also the spirit of Biafra. And that is the spirit in what we're doing. It will always cost something to get something of value. It will always cost something, and that is why it is called something of value. So that is why we are grateful to you wherever you are, whether from the Oduduwa nation, whether from Biafra nation. We want to appreciate you. It's critical to understand that we are in this together. And of course, we are ready to go home. And that is why we're doing what we're doing. Today, I'm not going to be speaking much because we already have our guests, you know, two of our guests in the house. And so I'm not going to, you know, bug you with so much talk. I'll bring them immediately to the studio. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Prince Ezem, Ihenacho. Thank you, sir. Good to have you again after yesterday, spending your 2 hours plus with us yesterday. And yet you are here again because of the love for Biafra. Please say hello to Biafrans.
I always like to start, Kelechi, by thanking God because I am acutely aware of the fact that I don't own the air I breathe. I don't own the days that we share. I don't own my health. So it's always a pleasure and I think my duty to thank my God, our God, the creator, the maker of all things. He ensured that by making us mortal beings that come into the world totally naked and empty-handed, proving that we created nothing. So I want to thank God first and worship Him and say hallelujah and glory unto His name. And then I want to thank you and thank my darling sister who is here with us, and thank our Oduduwa brothers and sisters that will hopefully be joining us. And to my fellow Biafrans, I love you so much. I love you because you have seen the vision that we see, and that's why you are committed to this cause. I want to thank you for coming to this hallowed platform where we speak nothing and nothing but the truth. And I can't wait for us to get started so that we can unleash the truth that is coming from the spiritual realm and bring it into the physical. And thank you all and welcome.
So much for that introduction, and of course appreciation to Biafrans, and of course we also want to appreciate you. We also have Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. Please say hello to Biafrans.
Yeah, good morning, Biafrans and the Oduduwas and the world, wherever you're watching from. I welcome you to this program today, and where we rub minds to let the world know what is going on, what we are looking forward to, and how we can make the world a better place for those Biafrans and Oduduwas living outside the country and inside Nigeria. Once again, I welcome all of you to this wonderful program this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are glad to have you and have our prince in the house also. And we are grateful that you could create a time to do this. Now, Biafrans, of course, would always want to hear from us because they always seek to know what is going on and happening around us. And basically this time around, we are seeing the real face of betrayal in everything. Real face of betrayal. People are now coming all out to show that they are betraying. And it's critical because when you get closer to, the day, the night becomes darker. And that is when you begin to understand that something is about to happen. And that is what is also evident in this case of, seeking for our freedom and moving closer to our freedom. We have 58 days to go. And we also know that the Oduduwa nation, they are doing everything they can also to see that based on the fact that the complexities around the Oduduwa nation also, is so much. Of course, we have the authority and the right to talk about it because we are part of those, and they are part of. We are all in the trap and in the contraption. We are all subjugated. So we seek one another's back to see that we actually, get ourselves free. Now, I want us to look critically because I thought we're going to have the Oduduwa people here because I want us to first look at the Oduduwa side of it because we know critically to an extent what we have been doing. And I don't know, Prince, if you, from your own perspective, what do you think is the challenge for the Oduduwa nation?
I'm sure that the challenge that the Oduduwans are facing is similar to what we are facing. But these challenges I see as natural. And when we dig into the spiritual realm and translate it into the physical, we can only see and notice that we are dealing with a farmland. The world, as you see it, is a farmland. And in the farm, no matter how good a farmer you are, in fact, you are a farmer because you got to deal with your cultivated crops, as well as contend with the weeds. These two must be present. So the challenges facing Oduduwa nation is the same challenges we are facing today, where we have many who are or who believe they are benefactors in the evil And it is only natural that when you have evil.
Before you go on with what's on your mind, you know, basically, I am just looking at the complexities surrounding the Oduduwa nation as regards religion, because you know they have this large divide. This divide, you know, basically most of them are Muslims. Yes, many of them. Let me not say most of them. Many of them are Muslims, and many of them are Christians. And many of them are believe in just core traditional practice, and it has a way of affecting the way they are submissive to the caliphate. And basically, and of course, the caliphate having the control over the nation. We know the story of Ilorin, and how it fell a long time ago, and the influence it has also in the whole of the Yoruba nation. And just look at it critically in a wider, perspective. The core challenge about how the search for freedom or the quest for freedom can actually be actualized very quickly in that part of the world or that part of the world.
Well, trust me, even what I was saying still applies, because here you are looking at the issue of religion, and we've dissected religion in our previous discussion, and we know very well that religion is divisive. And of course, the same thing applies everywhere in Yoruba land, in Igbo land, except in Biafra, everywhere, where those that are religious obviously will come with their division. And you know very well that it doesn't matter what religion, whether you are Islam, whether you are Christian, whether you are whatever. Once you are religious, you feed from the caliphate, whether you like it or not. You will feed and be propelled by the caliphate. You will become idolatrous because the caliphate will use their religion and use money and use whatever they can see to bribe you, to make you subscribe to their project. So in Yoruba land, in fact, it's even more diversified, more than it is in Biafra. You have more Muslims in Yoruba land than you have in Biafra. Now, when you see the chaos religion is causing in Biafra land, you can multiply that by 10 in Yoruba land, okay? And it's important we remember, just like I told you, that the leaders, the religious leaders in Biafra are same. They are the same as your political leaders in Biafra. The only thing is that they don't have army to command, but they are committing the same level of heinous evil, and their intentions are to retain Nigeria in some way, shape, or form. Now you can multiply that by whatever number you choose. That is what is happening in Yoruba land. Okay, this religious venom, this religious divisive concept is even more in Yoruba land. So that means people are easily led, easily brainwashed, easily bribed, because the worship is human. They worship fellow human beings. They worship earthly things. They worship money. They have negated God. And as far as humanity is concerned, humanity is secondary to their pursuit of earthly possessions that they are taking nowhere. So, in a nutshell, I want us to know that whatever it is that is obtainable in Biafra, in terms of religious chaos, subscription to the worship of money, you can multiply that by whatever number you choose. That is what is going on in Yoruba land as we speak. And that's why it's almost like they fluctuate. It's like, wherever they think the gain is, just like you have in Biafra land, but it is more in Yoruba land. And I think we need to understand all these things, because if you do anything you don't properly understand, you will never be able to deal with. So that is my submission. on this issue?
Yes, because it is very important that we understand, because we are in an alliance right now. We have an alliance with the Oduduwa nation, and if we don't understand our neighbors or the people we are in agreement with or in alliance with, we might have this challenge of trying to harmonize our collective interest. And in that regard, especially regarding the alliance, and that's why we're asking this particular, we're looking at it critically so that we can look at how we can move strongly together to achieve this, because our enemies will want to capitalize on the lapses to actually hit us, and of course we are ahead of them. And Dr. Ngozi, from your own perspective, you see, we have this, we can't shy away from it, that religion is basically in control, and especially in the lives of the people. It has been made to be so from the time of the British, and all of that until now. So from your own perspective, what do you think is the challenge with the Oduduwa nation, especially the people?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I will only talk about the general challenge that the Biafrans are experiencing, and I think the same challenge could also be visible in the Oduduwa nation. The Oduduwa, our Oduduwa guests, I believe, should be able to expatiate more on the challenges they are having when they log in, based on the experiences they are having from their own perspective. But all I know is that there is a general challenge that is not just to the Oduduwas. It is peculiar in the whole country, in the area of using religion to kind of trap people, kind of the mindset, kind of the psyche, and also the challenge of confronting those that are benefiting from the system. It will be difficult to confront or challenge or make them see it any other way, because they are already benefiting from the system. So it will be difficult to for somebody who is benefiting from a system to let that thing go. So that part of challenge is inherent in all parts of the country, both in the East, West, North, and South. So that is why the quest for Biafra liberation, or Oduduwa liberation, or Arawa liberation, or Middle Belt liberation, or South-South liberation, every Nigerian have to put into context that in all these parts of the country, there are people that are already benefiting from the system. So it will be difficult to dislodge them from those things that they are benefiting. So that is the angle where I think there are similar challenges among Biafrans, among Oduduwas, and all that. And we have to pay attention to that. Thank you.
And
yes. Okay, please.
Yeah. In addition, I mean, we have a typical example of these challenges. When you look at Buhari trying to vie for presidency in 2015, people were fooled and brainwashed into believing that because he is running with a Christian, forget about that he answered Osibanjo. That could have been any Igbo man, okay? It could have been any Nigerian, in quotes. Could have been any Biafran. Now, people believed that you have a Christian there. And in that mindset, because it's all about fake fraud, Nigeria represents fraud. It's just fraud. So it's like presenting Obi right now. People are not looking at history to know that this is another fraud. Okay? Obasanjo had been there. What did he achieve? He was controlled by the Fulani. It was controlled by his vibes. Jonathan had been there. What did he achieve? He focused on the north. Azikiwe lived, and we saw that he couldn't do a thing. And people are still being fooled. So in the case of Osibanjo, you can see how the level of his ineptitude and the level of his soul being sold to the devil, being sold to worshipping of Fulani and worshipping of what he could gain, even though people have been sort of deceived to think, oh, this is a Christian. Oh, at least we will have some moderation somewhere. In the end, what happened? Now, I don't know why people are so blind to see all these things, and they want to continue repeating the same mistake over and over and over again. Well, we are all told that the proper definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and wishing and hoping for a different outcome. I yield.
Chukwebuka says the major problem of Yoruba nation is fear. Well, I don't know I don't know how we can look at this before we go into the major talk, because we want to look at this, because my concern here is that, you know, we have a diplomatic front for the Oduduwa, the joint diplomatic front for the Oduduwa nation, and of course for the Biafra nation. And for us to actually work effectively is to understand our collective challenge and respective challenge too, you know. And the collective challenge, of course, we know has to do with the fact that we are all in the same problem, you know, based on the fact that we are subjugated, we are hungry, we are thirsty, we're not developing, we are backward, we are not having the opportunity to actually maximize our potentials as nations to do what we have to do. And of course, we have a respective, which of course is diverse. In the aspect of religion, it is even multifaceted, because when you look at it, you find out that there are so many complexities that have to do with that. And so if you, if Chukwebuka says it's fear, then how does fear, you know, say fear to stand up and face the caliphate, the oppressors that, whatever that comes out of the confrontation, like the Biafrans? If we say fear, fear, and also anybody, I don't know if Prince, if you have any before Dr. Ngozi will say anything about it. I want us to just look at it in the perspective of what is on the mind of Chukwebuka. Is fear one of the factors, or one of the factors?
Well, you see, in the human construct, you will always have fear.
Very well.
But however, fear is a very good thing. But where fear begins to dictate your life and how you live it, it becomes poisonous and it becomes destructive. All of these emotions that we feel, we ought to be in control of, and we must use positively. That is how God put us in control of everything. If you are a believer, a genuine believer in Christ, one of the things you're going to lose is the fear of fellow mortal beings. You will also lose the fear of this transient existence. Your fear will be that which is focused on God, who alone can account for both your physical as well as your spiritual, your soul. Okay? Because fear in itself ought to be moderated. So, but this is when fear grips the soul and destroys the soul. It is only when people worship, because whatever you worship, you will become afraid of. When people are worshiping earthly things, money, okay, worshiping fellow mortal beings, they automatically become idolatrous. And when you are idolatrous, you become confused. In fact, you become insane. The fear that ought to have been reserved for God, you would now place on fellow mortal being, and reserve for what you think you might lose, even your body, forgetting that you're going to lose the body anyway. That is the problem. And yes, I agree. Fear, but it's not only the Yorubas, it's also the Igbo, the Biafran, especially these fake Biafrans, these ones that are slaves to the Fulani. They worship the Fulani. They worship what Fulani is giving them. So they are afraid, so afraid to the extent that they are working against the clock, killing fellow Biafrans, trying to make sure they justify the reasons why they are in the camp of the Fulani, because they are afraid of Fulani. They are afraid of what they are going to lose. So their worship is towards these things they are afraid of. It's important that we appreciate that this fear is not only for the Yorubas, it's also for these fake, fraudulent Biafrans and Igbo people that are being used to kill fellow Igbo, fellow Biafrans. I yield.
Ngozi, what do you think about it? Fear. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelechi. The issue of fear, just like Prince has said, it really cuts across the whole country. So it's not just reminiscence of a particular tribe. And I want people to also know that this fear is something that has been systematically created and dumped on almost all Nigerians, majority of Nigerians over the years. And this fear exists both in the East, West, North, and South. So when I read one of the, somebody wrote here that Oshibanjo, and I hear, this same thing Oshibanjo is doing, what is different from what Oshibanjo is doing and what Hope Uzadema is doing? What is different from what some of the Southeast governors are doing? What is different from what the Western governor, the other one that said the other day, if his people rise up, he's going to put them in jail? What is different from all that? What is different from what this guy, some of these politicians are doing? What is different from what some of the northern governors are doing, some of the legislators? It is the same class, two classes of people in Nigeria. The rulers and those that are being ruled. They have perpetually, over the years, created this fear among the citizens. So this fear is not just inherent in the Yorubas, it's inherent in even among our own Southeasterners. Some of these people that came out the other day and were saying, oh, we distance ourselves from this. Oh, let us wait. This election, somebody is going to win it from our own side. So let us keep quiet until that person wins. Some of this systemic fear and talk is something that has been perpetuated over the years. But some people don't know that. Because we use, the Fulani Caliphate, we use all forms of tactics. And I want to let people know that these people, they are pretty smart. So that is why it needs Nigerians that have that intelligence required to really dig deep and know why certain things are going on in Nigeria every single day, every single minute. Because the plot to make sure that this election holds, that is the task of those people that we call the so-called leaders. They won't do anything else. What do you expect? They will fight with their last blood to make sure that these elections, even though it's going to be fraudulent, they are going to fight to perpetuate it because they gain from the system. So whether APC wins, whether Oshibanjo wins, whether PDP wins, whether Labour Party wins, that same clique of people that continue to perpetuate this evil in Nigeria, they will continue to fight to make sure that this election holds. So when it comes to the issue of fear, even our own Southeastern brothers and sisters that knows that what is going on is bad, how many of them have you seen that came out to say something? Because of that fear. But some of them, when you see them privately, you see where they're coming from. They don't like what is going on. But you can't see them voice it out. And the reason is because this fear has been perpetuated over the years. So that is why it's very, very important for us to first conquer our fear. Conquering that fear is going to be a gradual process. It's not something that is just going to happen overnight. Conquering that fear will come from the background that we know that what is going on in Nigeria today is there is a lot of crime against humanity. You can't just kill people just because of their belief. These are crimes that are generally accepted all over the world. People are entitled to their own belief, to their own opinion. People have a right for self-determination. So these rights are things that over the years have been suppressed in Nigeria. People have been killed for that. When you talk, there's a repercussion. So it is important for us to know that when we talk about people being afraid, it does not mean that things are not happening in those areas. There are a lot of people in that area that knows that the country is heading towards a very, very dangerous path. And they are speaking. Are they talking publicly? Maybe not. But does it mean they are afraid to talk? I don't believe that. So we must first of all make sure we know that this systemic oppression and suppression has been going on for years. And it's going to take time for most Nigerians to liberate themselves off from this fear. And I strongly believe that at this point, a lot of Nigerians, many of them are aware. They've become sensitized. They're now seeing some of these things that maybe in the past people talk about that they don't pay attention. But right now, they are seeing that these things cannot continue. And that is the only way we can really get the revolution we need to make sure that these leaders does not continue to perpetuate this evil on the Nigerian citizens. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that the narrative of Nigeria should be restricted to those who have actually made themselves foolish. I believe that you see, Nigeria is not a nation; it's not a country. So we cannot say that the people under them are Nigerians. I believe so, because if you don't have a nation. We all have a respective nations. We have the nation of Biafra, we have the nation of Oduduwa, we have the nation of Hausa. We have the nation is a group of people with common ties. And if you want to define Nigeria as a nation, it simply means Nigeria does not have any connection to nationhood defined as a nation. Now that is why we want to always see how much we can address these people based on their nation, because it's critical so that it can spell out to the world that we actually know that nobody is a Nigerian, that everybody have their nation, and so we understand what nationhood is and we know what we are fighting for, you know. And Mr. Demola was here now. I wanted to ask him to give us a perspective to that light of the Yoruba nation, to see how much we'll be able to understand from that point of view. Now, before he comes on, maybe his network, because it has been fluctuating, I've been looking at it here. Before we go on, because we have pointed out some of the these factors, the negative stuff that we have, but we understand that that negativity is actually meant to of course, in every negativity there's a positive side of it, and of course fear is a vital tool, in our sphere of existence, to prompt our sensual approach to, or sensual alertness to circumstances, situations, and all of that. Now, if Prince, I don't know, can you give us a vivid template. Let me call it a template here on how you think that the Yoruba nation and the Biafra nation can walk, together. Scripture says, "Can two walk together except they be agreed?" That means there's an initial agreement before they can walk. So, because we have to understand what our strength, our weakness, and all of that, and then we forge, a particular style or a template to move us forward, and all of that. Now, what is your own thinking or reasoning, or what you think that will help us work together in spite of the negativity that we face based on the influence of Nigeria over time on our nations and our people?
Right. In fact, I am so pleased that it's not only Biafrans that want to exit this evil contraption. What that simply says to us is that we are all in this together. We have shared a common experience. And because we have shared a common experience with the Yorubas, and we are somehow similar and also different people, there will be serious cross-fertilization of ideas going on between the Yorubas and the Biafran nations. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it so much because I can see the light that will come from it. Because they've got something unique to bring, and we have got something unique to bring, and we're going to cross-fertilize. I need people. In fact, I was making the initial point when the program began for people to understand that we are in a farmland, and you see all these things we perceive as problems, all these worshipping of money and worshipping of people, worshipping of Fulani, and my dear sister Ngo, I know that you've told us that the Fulanis are smart, but let me tell you, the smartness of Fulani is only coming from the British. I need you to mark that down. They are the ones with all these tactics, all these things. They are working day in, day out, and they know we know. So it's important we get that out of the way. But I wanted people to know that all these problems we have, all these people you see that have subscribed to the Fulani agenda, they represent the weeds in our farm. And I need you to know that genuine Biafrans and genuine Oduduwas are going to be clever farmers in the end. You see these people? We're going to turn them into manure, into the fertilizer that we're going to use to feed the planted crops, because we are good farmers. These people are going to be, we're going to turn them into positive to use to make sure we decorate our farm, and that during harvest, God would have done the miracle that we never anticipated. Trust me. So don't worry, these people are going to serve our value, our interests later, because God has made us good farmers, and we'll know how to go about these people. So in short answer to your question, Oduduwa and Biafran nations are coming with, and that's why I am so happy, because in the spiritual realm, it must take two or more. It must take two or more. Here we have two. We could also have three, because don't forget, Ariwas are also wanting their freedom, and they are going to come along once we hit the road. And you know what in spiritual realm two or more means. So we are onto it. And I'm not sure if I've answered your question accordingly.
We're still going to come to that, because we want to also look at critically because if we are going to work together and turn them to manure, as you said, critically, that's a very metaphoric and powerful illustration there, because it has deep meaning. So we're going to come into that more, and then we're going to look at how weak the alliance has actually caused the Nigeria contraption to be. But Doctor, in your perspective, how effectively can we harness our various, our various nature as different nations to work effectively together?
Thank you so much, Kelechi. Again, it's not really, sometimes, everything doesn't really come to the open. And like I told you, every single Nigerian has a brother or sister working somewhere in Nigeria. Every single Nigerian has a brother or sister or relation working outside Nigeria.
We don't have Nigerian. So, there's nobody who is a Nigerian. Doctor, there's nobody who's
when I say that, every Oduduwa, let me use the word again.
Yeah,
every Biafran, every Oduduwa. Can you hear me?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay, you asked me a question, how we can harness more people, how we can harness a lot of people.
How the two nations, two nations can the two nations, the Oduduwa nation, the Biafra nation, can work together diplomatically and achieve their aim and get the aim of freedom.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, like I was saying, we have Oduduwas scattered all over the world and inside Nigeria. We have Biafrans scattered all over the world and inside Nigeria. Diplomatically, the information, the expositions, the facts of what is going on inside these two areas of Nigeria, the Biafran entity and the Oduduwa, what is going on there, all the crimes being committed in these areas by the Nigerian government is all over the world. People are seeing that. It's being relayed to the world leaders. So it's not just, we have cases all over in different parts of the world, in the ICC, the United Nations, we have everywhere. And these killings that have been going on in Biafra land, the images is being shown all over the world. It's been explained to world leaders, including those in the United States and the United Kingdom. So information about what is going on in Biafra land, in Oduduwa land, in other parts of Nigeria too, is very, very important. I like to also, the reason why I like to include, why we're trying to partner with the Oduduwas, I always want to bring to the knowledge of the world that these injustices is also happening in other parts of the entity called Nigeria. I like to bring that to the fore because I work with a lot of people from the north. I work with citizens from this part of the country, and I listen to them. I hear what they say. And I want to let the world know that this evil happening in Biafra land and in Oduduwa land is also happening in other parts of Nigeria. They want to exit too, even though some of them may not have the opportunity to come and talk and say that due to the years of suppression and oppression. I want it to be on record that most Nigerians want a change in the system, in the structure of the country. And that change, I strongly believe, is going to happen in this 2023. So when it comes to the Oduduwas and the Biafran working together, we can liaise in different areas. Again, we've had Chief Sunday Igboho has approved the liaison, the relationship of working closely with Mazi Simon Eba and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And that is our guide. We have to use those forces, those two forces. And then when you look at the history of these two people, these two individuals, Chief Sunday Igboho and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, all of us know where they are today. So Nnamdi Kanu is in DSS dungeon. The Fulanese are holding him because they believe they don't want him out yet. And they are holding him in partnership with the Southeast governors, with some Igbo leaders, with some fraudulent Igbo people. They connive to let the government continue to hold Nnamdi Kanu because they believe he is a power. He is a broker. They know what Nnamdi can do today if he steps out from that DSS dungeon. Nigerian government knows the impact and the power that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu holds. And that is why they are afraid to release him, despite all the court orders to release him. The same thing with Chief Sunday Igboho. They are holding him, they chase him out of the country just because of the same thing. They are holding Nnamdi Kanu. So it is critical for us to understand what is going on in Nigeria and how we can harness all the resources that we have to make sure that this criminality called Nigeria ends by 2023. I keep telling people, sometimes you can fool some people sometime, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And that is what is happening in Nigeria today. A lot of people have come to understand what is going on. A lot of people have come to understand that this cannot continue to go on. So whether it's happening in the way of, okay, we're going to support this particular candidate for presidential election, and if that person does not win, the country is going to go down. Or in areas of a particular people, like with the Biafrans, we want our Biafra, or the Oduduwas, they want their republic. So all these things are going on. And when it comes to how do you harness all that, I think the best way to get the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So we have to eat the pudding to get the taste. So when something like answers happen, I don't know if there was so much planning for the answers to happen. People have to meet here, you know. And then after the answers, there was another major upheaval that happened in Nigeria. So this next one that is going to happen, because the leaders have refused to do the right thing, they've refused to listen to the people. Rather, they want to protect their interests in the way of conducting an election. That election validates this same criminality and this same failed state. So this next one that is going to happen, I know Nigeria is not going to survive this. And that is, I would rather focus on that, because it's going to happen than how it's going to happen, what is, how or why people already know. So when the time comes, I believe a lot of Nigerians will see why. So the liaison between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Chief Sunday Igboho is there are talks going on behind the scene, and then publicly too. And the leaders in Oduduwa that are trying to threaten the Oduduwa citizens that if they rise up for self-determination, or if they do this, they're going to arrest them, I'll simply tell those governors or leaders to be ready. Let them get ready, because what is going to hit them this time around is not just you are going to arrest somebody because of their belief, but you are going to see the consequences of doing evil. You're going to see the consequences of just treading on people, suppressing people, oppressing people, just to make sure that your criminality continues to exist. So that is the way I'm going to put it at this time. Thank you.
I want everyone to get just prepare yourself, because we are getting into another segment of this the last segment. Of course, we have to sit down. The last segment, and this segment is actually defined by the narrative that Prince has brought into this about the manure, and then we're talking about the plants, the farmland. Now, critically, of course, you know that any farmland that will be productive and give us what we need and require
Something is happening. Are you gonna refresh or something? I think I'm not hearing you properly on that. It seems to be speed.
Let me refresh. Let me refresh. Let me refresh.
Ngongwa, you can start moderating the show whilst he comes back.
Okay, yeah, please, let's hear your opinion. I know Kelechi was saying something about the manure.
Yeah, so, yes, am I coming up now?
Yeah, you're better, yes.
Oh, I'm saying, okay, I think I can see it here now. It's
we can hear you better.
Okay, now,
yeah, we're going to go
into the next segment of this program right now, and that is defined by the narrative that Prince brought into the whole thing, you know, talking about the manure. I want to look at critically on the manure, because we know that manure has to do with wastes, basically, to actually deal with a farmland. You need the waste to give you what you need. And the second segment will begin with this, because I want people to see how desperate these Fulanis are and their godfathers, or the caliphate, or the British, you know, and how we should be prepared to see how we can use their desperation to deal with them as manure to what we want to achieve. Now watch this.
Na rance da Allah shi muka ci, tsakani na har da Allah da ya halicce ni. To waka hana mu. Kan bala'i kun a daina kisa. Bidiyon hannu kai. Yanzu ni faɗa ma wani ɗan majalisa wanda zaka wuri na yana ji ina zaune kamin kuyi wannan abun. Barayin da a wurin birnin Gwari suna kira na suna ba da shawara. Barayin da a wurin Maru suna kira na suna ba da shawara. Barayin da a wurin bayan ruwa suna ba da shawara. Wurin Kyafe suna ba da shawara. Gaban shi muna magana wasu na cewa a inga titi yanda shigo jihar Zamfara a yanki. Gaban shi suna faɗi suna cewa duk da titi ya hito jihar Zamfara a dace shi gaban shi. Ina ba da magana wasu suna ba da magana wasu na cewa ga ai haka nan. Ka tambaye shi an yi ko ba a yi ba. Ya Najeriya. Duk inda aka yi kaka ko tura sai a tura.
Now, I just have to give us a little, you know, view of that, so that our people will be reminded every time that there is a gang up going on, always. Now, talking about the manure, we actually need to look at the waste from Nigeria to define the manure that we need to make Biafra and Oduduwa nation spring up and spring forth and produce good fruit. Now, one of the manure that we can bring out from the concept of Nigeria, and one of the ingredients of the manure, anyway, it's not one of the manure, one of the ingredients of the manure is that desperation to make wealth very quickly in the lives of our people. Now, I'm looking critically on our people now. Because of the situation of Nigeria, our people have found themselves in a situation where they are desperate to make money. They are desperate. They don't mind killing the other person. They don't mind going anywhere. They don't mind taking any journey. We have lots of our girls who, what they do in Abuja is to look for one allergy to lay them. Some of them are gifted, but yet they can't recognize them. They can't identify their gifts. And they're everywhere looking for how to drive jeep and get a land property. You know, they go to campuses, take the girls. They have guys there who actually recruit these girls, or some girls who recruit these girls for them, and some of them are used for rituals, some of them are used for. Now, this is one of the ingredients of manure that can help us build Biafra land. How are we going to tackle this when it comes to our freedom? Prince, please.
Who is the question to? Is it me or?
Yes, because you can't the analogy of the manure. So let's have
all
it.
Right. And I thank you for narrowing it down to the influence of this physical thing called money and people with the current Nigeria state. And don't forget, whenever we talk about Nigeria and Nigerians, we are talking about waste. And we are talking about foolishness. We are talking about intellectualism. We're not talking about intellectualism. When we talk about Biafra, genuine Biafrans, Oduduwa, genuine Oduduwas, we're talking about wisdom, we're talking about intellectualism, we're talking about clear direction. Now, Nigeria and Nigerians are wastes. They focus on cash, but they have no singular idea about what propels cash. They have no singular idea about even how money came about. They don't know what is at the root of money. Now, so I'm going into a different metaphor now where I tell you that these are people who are fixated on the building. The building is the money. They don't give a damn about the foundation. They forget that no matter how wonderful the building looks, if it is not sitting on firm and good foundation, which is where the ideas are, that beautiful house must collapse. It depends on the type of wind that comes. So Nigerians are quick to fixate themselves and worship money, but they have no idea about what gave rise to money, or how we came about money, or what money is there to do. Now, Biafrans, genuine Oduduwas, are full of the foundation to any building. And that foundation is littered in ideas, because it was idea that gave about money, that produced money, that create wealth. So we are going to make sure that in Biafra and in Oduduwa, working collaboratively, working in complement, that we build firm foundations filled with solid ideas that will create so many beautiful houses. Beautiful because what produces money, what produces wealth, what produces all these things are simply ideas. And there will never be a place where you have human compatible, human-friendly ideas than in Biafra and the Oduduwa nations. I want you to mark this thing down today, because one of the manures that Nigerians have produced, I can assure you, is clear indications of what can never work in humanity. One of the manures Nigeria and Nigerians and supporters of Nigerians have produced are malfunctioning ideologies, concepts, narratives, and theories. Because without these malfunctioning theories, we would never have come, and we would never have come to, you know, these crops that will beautify the world, which are the human compatible, human-friendly narratives, ideologies, theories, and concepts. I hope your I hope I'm not taking people too far out of the realms of their understanding. Because what I'm telling you here, trust me, is linked to spiritualism. And I've told you that spiritualism is the key to everything that you see on this earth that is physical. And without spiritualism, you will not have a good understanding of religiosity and its downfall and its poisonous nature. So I hope you have seen how we're going to use the manure coming from Nigeria, Nigerians and supporters of Nigeria to bring about, to feed the crops that are Biafrans, Oduduwans, and Arewa, and whatever else that springs up in terms of freedom, liberty. I hope you can make the connection.
Very well. In fact, we're going to go deeper in this. Now we're going to take, we're going to utilize the narrative that Christ himself actually gave to the people when he was, he was actually in the line of parables. And then in that line of parables, he actually gave a parable about the wheat and the weed. We're going to take it to that narrative after Dr. Ngozi goes and does justice to this particular question also, because we want to go deeper now. We're going to look at, because basically you made reference to something. As you were talking, I was just trying to pick out some stuff. And you said something critical, especially you talked about the foundation. And foundationally, we define what is actually, or what we see, because the foundation determines and spells out the composition of what we see. And so we're going to use the analogy of the wheat and the weed. They sound alike, but we're going to look at that critically, go deeper into this. So, Doctor, this issue of the manure, we know that everything that characterizes Nigeria is actually a manure. That is why in our constitution, we are looking at the faults, the negatives in Nigeria to define the positive for us. So which means Nigeria is actually a manure in which we are defining the fruits.
From which we are.
From which we are. Our fruit is, our plant is germinating because it is the manure. So what do you think about that narrative from Prince talking about the manure and how it will help fertilize our nation?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelechi. That was a very good analysis from Prince. The manure aspect. Again, I want to thank Emmanuel Maureen, some of the guests that are commenting. I hear you. Thank you so much for your greetings. The analysis that Prince made using the manure is something that all of us can resonate with. The manure you put on the ground, in most cases, will determine the outcome of your vegetation. I think that's what he's trying to do. But I'm going to reroute that manure explanation to the issue we have at hand in Biafra land, in Oduduwa land, and in Nigeria. And that manure, which is supposed to germinate good fruits, which is supposed to germinate very yield high fruits, that manure has been messed up. Because that manure has been messed up, now the yield is not right. The yield is not right. And that is why that manure has to be thrown away. And a better manure has to be put on the ground to yield the fruits that all of us are looking for. That manure, the yield, I'm going to pity those youths in the areas of things that are going on in Nigeria, Oduduwa and in Biafra land. And those areas and those concepts has to deal with things like marginalization, things like suppression, oppression, inequity, inequality, insecurity, not having the basic things that we should have as human beings. The wrong constitution, the secular state, which has been bastardized. I want to bring it all back to that, because when all these are not functioning, there's just nothing exists. Nothing exists. So you are forcing people to exist in a contraption that deep down in their heart, they are not happy. They don't like it. They keep complaining and nobody is listening. And when that continues to happen, it will come to a stage where people have been pushed to the wall. When you push people to the wall, they will react for their lives. And I think Nigeria is at that point right now. People have been pushed to the wall from different aspects, from the whole country, east, west, north, and south. People have been pushed to the wall because those that, I read a comment here, somebody said, we cannot allow those that benefit from the system to throw the country into an Afghanistan status. That is absolutely correct. From Mary Ike, yes, you are absolutely correct. We cannot allow those that benefit from the system to throw the whole country into chaos, to throw the whole citizens into an Afghanistan state. And that is why the Biafrans have said they cannot continue to stay in this contraption where everybody has been thrown into a state of hopelessness and helplessness. People have been pushed to the wall. There's no hope. And the people that continue to perpetuate this criminality, I keep using that word, because that criminality happened in different areas. In the areas of, look at the House of Legislators in Nigeria, look at their salary. And they just approved a new salary for themselves. And most of them are leaving this May. Why increase your salaries, the legislators in Nigeria? Why increase your salary to almost how many billions? And they just few of you. Meanwhile, we don't have basic health. We don't have basic hospitals. We don't have basic health centers. We don't have basic cutting-edge health clinics in Nigeria. And some of you leaders, when you're sick, you want to fly to America, to Britain, even our president, you fly to Europe for your health care checkup. Why do you have to do that? You need to establish a cutting-edge health center in Nigeria so that when you're sick, you can utilize that. So why dump all that money on individuals? And that's what I say, those people that benefit from the system, and when they're sick, they want to fly abroad. How are we going to continue in this kind of setup? How are we going to continue in a system where you claim we are in one country, one Nigeria, and you have some people practicing the Sharia law and another people practicing the secular law? And the danger is that if you are in this northern, some of these northern states, they force you to practice the Sharia law. Where's the democracy? Where's the independence? Why should non-Christians in northern part of Nigeria be forced to practice Sharia law? If somebody said, I don't like Muhammad, you go after that person, you stone the person, you kill the person, because that is what the Sharia says. Then you forget that there are Christians that are born in the northern part of Nigeria, like Kaduna, Sokoto, and all that. There are Christians, their parents are Christians, their grandparents are Christians. They don't have to believe in the Sharia, they don't have to believe in Muhammad. But if they say they don't believe in those people, or they say something against them, you go and stone them and kill them publicly. Look at the case of Deborah. Deborah was stoned to death in front of our Nigerian leaders, in front of the Nigerian society. She was stoned to death. How many of those leaders came out to publicly criticize what happened to that poor girl? And you want people to remain in the same type of setup, in the same type of system? No, it's not gonna work. Those of you that think it's working, it's not going to continue to happen. It's not gonna work. That is why, because these leaders have refused to address these injustices, it has come to the point right now where majority of Nigerians are now going to say, you know what, enough of this. We know what we want. We know the kind of leadership we want. We know the kind of security we want. And you are not going to impose your caliphate laws on us. Most Nigerians have said that. And that is why people requested for a referendum. Not that referendum will really give us what we want, because Biafrans, they want to be free. They are going to be free this year. I strongly believe the Oduduwas too, and most part of Nigeria, because they've been fooled for a long time. The leaders have refused to do what they need to do to have a peaceful country where everybody have a sense of belonging, a sense of responsibility, a sense of equality. We are seeing suppression and oppression. We are seeing killings, unnecessary killings of people going on every single day. I want to ask Buhari, why are you sending more kinetics, more equipment, more tools to Southeast Nigeria to go and continue to kill people? Why is he doing that? Why? And we have Boko Haram in the north. We have Boko Haram in Sambisa Forest. We have the terrorists all over. Recently, they showed there was a Boko Haram headquarters in Abuja. Has Buhari bombed that place? Have he sent tools and planes and the helicopters to go and bomb the Boko Haram headquarters inside Abuja? No, he has not done that. But he said he's going to send more equipment to Southeast Nigeria. Why is he going to do that? And he thinks that is going to stop the quest for Biafra. So I want Nigerians to see the injustices going on in that country every day. And I want to let them know such injustices cannot continue, because you cannot continue to push people and make them not to talk. The injustices, let me tell people, when people become helpless and hopeless and depressed, nothing matters anymore. And that is why when you see people that are depressed, committing suicide is nothing to them. When it comes to that point, when people want to die, regardless of anything, then you know nothing can stop unless a drastic move is the only thing that can turn that mindset around. When you see people jump up from the bridge, when you see people stand in the middle of the road to end it all, most Nigerians are at that point right now where nothing matters anymore, because they've taken it to this point. And the worst is that the leaders that are perpetuating this criminality, they're not budging. They want to use the same scenario, the same process, the same way of actualizing their criminality, which is election, to continue to perpetuate this evil. It does not matter what the citizens are saying. What leader commands the military, the Nigerian military, to go to people's markets? The other day, I think it was Okigwe. The Nigerian military, when they erased the markets, what president of a country commands the military to go and be raising innocent people's shops just to destroy their means of livelihood, just to destroy their economic means of living? Who does that? And they think that after you bomb people's markets, means of livelihood, the children of those people, those innocent men and women, you think they'll just keep quiet and allow such to continue?
Right. So
that is a fallacy. That will never happen.
Okay. So
let me just stop there.
Thank you for those. You just pointed basically the manures that are coming out from the contraption Nigeria. And this brings me, this is interesting because I feel that the more the manure, the more fertilizing fertilized our land will be. Prince, you see, don't you, how potent, how effective is the manure coming from Nigeria? You know, based on the things she narrated, she actually has given us most of the ingredients. We discovered from the analysis that we have so much fertility in the manure.
Absolutely. You know, my sister Ngo has spoken very well, but I think there are areas that I would love her to dissect and see from where we are coming. The more rotten Nigeria as a manure is, the more we need it to feed the crops. I can assure you that even the constitution we are talking about wouldn't have been thorough if it weren't for the manure coming from Nigeria. And also, I want you to know that whenever you mention Nigeria, you're talking about rottenness.
Very well.
So, and we need to really capture this because, in fact, it has become our mantra that the opposite of intellectualism is Nigeria, and which stands for stupidity and craziness and the rottenness. So we are going to use what Nigeria has offered in terms of manure to build a new nation. I can assure you, without this manure coming from Nigeria, we wouldn't be able to articulate a unique and most powerful two nations on this earth that will become Oduduwa as well as Biafra. So when we talk about manure, we're talking about rottenness, and we can't waste it. We're going to use the byproducts of Nigeria to build Biafra and Oduduwa nation. Those words were in metaphor. They are coded and they are powerful. So we need to understand it very well in order to appreciate what it means. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be asking the last question because we can't exhaust these facts, you know, in this particular, but I want to go to Mr. Demola, who is here already. You know, we've been talking, so let's bring him in. You're welcome, Mr. Demola. You're welcome, sir. I hope you can hear us.
Thank you, House.
Good. In fact, you are sounding very loud today, loud and clear.
Experiencing technical difficulties, keeping on. I lost signal. Yeah, so I've missed the conversation, but thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. You know, Prince have been doing lots of giving us much knowledge on these things, and Dr. Ngozi also. They have actually been giving us, but they actually were trying to explain when we began this program. They were trying to explain the situation in the Oduduwa nation, especially regarding how complex the situation of Oduduwa is, based on the fact that there's a huge, there's a gross divide, you know, especially in religious, in the angle of religion, where we have most people, most of the people, or more of the people being Muslims, another set of people being Christians, and others who are critically traditional, you know, in their ways. And this is one of the factors we have to fight, or one of the things we have to fight to make sure that we get our freedom. And we are looking at, you know, because we understand from the Biafra angle, we know the challenges that we have internally in quest for freedom. In fact, recently, Mazi Simon Ekpa have been doing lots of exposition on the, you know, on the meeting he had with the Igbo leaders in Finland, or the Igbo union in Finland, not leaders, Igbo union in Finland. And you can see from that meeting that our people are just Nigerians. They are not intellectuals, obviously. Now, from the point of view of the Oduduwa nation, we have tried to look at it together here, but we want to hear from you, since you are, you know, a main citizen of Oduduwa nation. what are the complex situations or challenges that you see within the Oduduwa circle that is affecting the quest for this freedom that we all seek?
Thank you, Blessing, and thank you for the house for the education that I've been able to listening in and out. Understand the issue, the question correctly. Understanding of the complex dynamics of the light of the religious divide. Am I correct?
Yes, religious divide and otherwise, other issues, but religion being the front. Yes.
Thank you. For the benefit of our streaming audience, those we already know this, but I want to give us a reminder to put this. First of all, Nigeria is not a country. It is just a geopolitical construct, number one. Number two, because Nigeria is not a country, but have a leadership problem. Because the country that cannot possibly have a leadership problem, that's a problem. Because if phantom country can only have problem, we got that straightened out. Also, we need to put in the forefront that what we're experiencing at indigenous nations, we are all victims of what I call conspiracy of colonization. We are all victims of conspiracy of colonization. The British colonial masters are called what is being called the Nigerian problem. The independence to begin with as a shard to cover, they continue to colonize the country for their own benefit so that they can continue to pillage. Then they use the Fulanis as a proxy of the Tajalon Mountains as proxies to build. Now, in order to allow the things to move the veil of global consciousness, tell us is that, oh, we're having a civil war, we're having a leadership religious divide that is causing the civil unrest. Not from the truth. We need to see through the veil that's been the phantom country called Nigeria have a religious divide. And I believe I mentioned this last. It's part of the strategy of divide and control, Fulani hegemony, under the watch of the British colonial master to use to both colonize and in the case of the nomadic Fulanis, continue to enslave the indigenous nationals of the geopolitical landmass, aka Nigeria. Now, as I mentioned last week, initially in Trump, I don't know about the Biafra nation, but in Yoruba nation, people of a different faith in one single family. Matter of fact, I don't know if Dr. Oduduwa is here. In my family, there are Muslims, there are Christians, and there are traditionalists. And we've all been very, very well. So somebody
please let me interject you there. When we come to that, I know that the Yorubas are good at knowing how to flow. In spite of the fact that there's this you can be in a family, you have a Yoruba person, you have a Yoruba person who is a Christian, another a Muslim, another a traditionalist, and all of that, and they can live peacefully amongst themselves. That means in the social approach of this thing, there is this harmony, seeming harmony anyways, that is possible, that is evident. But when it comes to the angle of politics, the caliphate utilizes this, of course, as a way of creating a kind of control over the people. Now, what is going to be the challenge? Because now we're talking about freedom, which means that it's going to be a sentence in the hands of the caliphate, using the Yoruba greedy politicians, who are people like Tinubu and all of that, who are subjects of the caliphate. Now, what do you think is going to be the challenge? Utilizing this religion to overwhelm the people is still dividing the people in the sense of seeking for their freedom and making sure that they use religion as a means of flawing or destroying or trying to counter what the pursuit for freedom.
Thank you, Blessing. The apparent that we're talking about is only that is being used to discourage people from participating in the self-determination movement. There is actually, because if we go back into history, we will see that it's this religion that the Fulanis use hundreds and hundreds to get themselves into the protectorate of the Hausas. Historically, the northern belonged to the Hausas until, see, the geographical landmass and ethnicity called Nigeria added us into three different parts with those natural boundaries. There's a Islamic religion, which they have practiced very well. Some of the Southwest adopted the religion. The South part has been Christian. We've never had any, so it's part of the charade of the Fulani hegemony to continue to take over, to continue the land grab agenda. Yes, to continue and perpetuate the land grab agenda that they throw religion. So there's no complexity at all. In reality, that I see is in the education of the man. Recognize that there's no religious division among us. The forces outside of us that are trying to enslave us, that are vigilant as a charade to continue to divide us, conquer us, and keep us enslaved. You know, they used, first of all, yes, is what they used. Now they're getting, if I add that they can leverage the greed of our leaders to kind of make them dangerous of continuing to participate in the geopolitical Nigeria, saying what Nigeria. There is no one Nigeria. Yes, there is no one one Nigeria. One of our leaders, Ms. Oniti Abiola, she's often said there is no nation that can exist without a language, and there's no now that does not have a national language. The reason Nigeria doesn't have a national language. There are three major languages in the geopolitical contraption called the Yoruba language, Igbo language, and Hausa language. Are three distinct and major nations. The only language contraption is the foreign language of English. You to the conclusion that Nigeria does not actually qualify as a nation. So the challenge is in continuing to educate the masses who, because of the poverty that has been imposed on an other conglomeration of nations, cannot see beyond all the crumbs that the political elites have been doling. The Yorubas are shouting Tinubu, the Igbos are shouting Obi. While at the north, you would notice strategically, nobody, because they know that the two southern political candidates are being used to implement their divide and conquer strategy by dividing the southern electoral vote, unified northern vote for Atiku under an otherwise institution. So we don't have any political religious complexity. The only challenge is being able to at the grassroots level, the masses. Even within the Oduduwa, we are at a stage. You will recall that Federal Republic, November 20, we have moved to the reclaim to the occupation. We are still finding some resistance among the people who are not actually becoming a nation when we legally define the public and notify the global community. So, in short, all with is education. There is no suffering to go around within the youth tomorrow. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. So what you're saying, is that the people need to be sensitized, need to be educated, and need to be informed of what they need to do now, in spite of whatever is, whatever the caliphate is trying to use as a means of trying to hoodwink the people and all of that. Now, okay, so now we're going to treat this last question because of time. I actually want to bring out so many perspectives from this because so many things are coming into my mind from the questions I'm asking. And, if I want to begin to bring out these questions, we're going to stay here for a long time. So we just have some 15 to 20 minutes to actually round off and then we're through. Now, there's this narrative, I still am looking at that perspective that Prince brought into this, talking about, I see, when you look at the complexities of these things, you discover that they're actually not, the only problem we have here is sensitizing the people to understand where they are and where they can be. So understanding that where we are right now, it's actually an advantage because if you look at the topic, we're saying, converting Nigeria's criminality, that means that converting Nigeria, the manure for our favorable advantage. That means we have to know how to utilize this manure, and that comes through sensitizing the people, understanding what and how they can utilize all this. And of course, we know that the manure itself is in different phases. The ingredients are multifaceted. We have corruption, we have inequality, we have poverty, we have hunger, we have so many things, that make up the manure. Now let's look at it critically now in the parable of Jesus when he talked about the wheat. And because this brings us now to another stage where we are looking at the right timing for the Oduduwa nation and the Biafra nation to strike, which is this time of election. Now, if we want to streamline that to a particular narrative, we're going to look at the narrative. Look at the parable of Jesus when he talked about, the wheat and the weed. And Jesus was saying something when the disciples asked him, or the people asked him. They said when he was saying the parable, he said the people asked the man, the owner of the vineyard. He said, "Look at this. Why men slept? They came to sow the tares." Now, and they said, "Should we go and uproot the tares?" And Jesus said something. Or let's say the master said, "No, leave the tares and the wheat to grow." And so they have to grow. And at the point of harvest, you can now begin to talk about separation. Now, that tells us that there's a critical time of understanding when to apply your strategy to get what you want to get. And that is the point of harvest, which means that the election of Nigeria strategically positions us at the right time to strike. And that is what we are right now. Now, but let's look at the complexities of the weed and the wheat and the wheat or the tares. You know that when men slept, the enemy came to plant the tares. That is the British came now, when we were just relaxing, feeling okay with ourselves, our nations, just relaxing, thinking very innocently. And suddenly they entered into us, brought religion, tackled us, took us out and messed us up. And we now became messed up until now. And we're seeking to get to we're now at the point of the harvest, which the election has presented to us. Now, there's this complexity that comes with the root. When you look at plants or everything, just like Prince said, you talk about the foundation. So when we look at the plant, we look at the roots. When the tares were planted, the tares also began spreading their roots before they germinated, just like the wheat also spread its roots and germinated. And so the reason why Jesus was the master, or the owner of the vineyard, was saying, don't destroy the tares now, wait for the harvest, is because at the point of the harvest, you can harvest the fruit and you might not need the stem or the plant of the wheat anymore. And so at that point in time, whatever damage is done to the plant is inconsequential, because now you have gotten what you want, the harvest. So now that brings us also to Nigeria. The tares that the British planted now also germinated and affected and began to intertwine under the ground. You begin to see, we have to look at what is happening under the ground, how the roots were just, clustering and, of course, taking position together. Now, Nigeria has become that, has taken that shape where the tares have held the fabric of the nations of Biafra, the nation of Oduduwa, and all of that. Now, we know that this is strongly connected. There's this strong connection in the aspect of the roots, looking at the root region, because that is where the connection is. And that is why it's very critical to know when to strike. Now, how significant is, I'm going to ask Prince now, looking at that narrative, how significant is this opportunity we have based on the expectation of harvest? That is, the roots of the tares and the wheat are together now because the enemies planted, and so the roots have taken, have become one because of. So we didn't need to harvest at that point in time. Maybe during the war, it was not the time to harvest because we really needed to get the right time to do this. And now we've come to this point where we need to harvest. Now, how significant is this time to our expectation of freedom?
Thank you so much. You know that Christ is and was the master of metaphors. And that's why he spoke in parables. When Christ spoke about the weed and the weeds, he had two components in mind, the long term and the short term. The long term belonging to God, the ultimate farmer. The short term belonging to us mortal beings. So let's deal with the short term because it is actually relevant to what we are doing now. Separation of the weed from the weeds. This election has now provided us with that moment of harvest when we must separate the two. And we can't miss the opportunity. And that's why in our prayers, we keep praying for discernment, discerning spirit. Because without it, we can't interpret what Christ was telling us. And that's why we often miss the moment. Because we are not interpreting correctly. You see, this election is for the physical farmers, which are you and me. The Biafrans versus the Biafrans, the Oduduwas, the Arewas versus the Nigerians. We must act now, because if we miss this opportunity, honestly speaking, we may end up harvesting the weeds forever. And we're not going to harvest the crops. The crops will be damaged. And you will see in the long term when Christ comes, because if we believe in Christ, then we have to understand the message of Christ. You'll find that God will do the same thing. And that's why Christ said, you must leave these weeds. Because Christ recognized the importance of the weeds. To the weed, very important we capture it. Now, I want to plead, I want to appeal, whatever adjective people want to use. I want to use it to appeal to my fellow Biafrans, the Oduduwas, the Ariwas, the Middle Belters, whatever name we have chosen, those that understand freedom, those that understand liberty, those that understand autonomy, those that understand free will, those that understand choice, those that understand independence, those that understand self-determination. These are all things God gifted to only mortal beings. No animal has these things. I implore you now to wake up as good farmers and separate the weeds from the wheat, the weeds from the wheat. I hope I haven't spoken so much in metaphors that people couldn't capture what I am saying. And if they can't capture it, I need to know so that perhaps I will go into a different mode to bring it to light. But I think
I believe that our people are understanding. They actually understand what we're trying to, because I've been trying to study the comment section. I know people are listening keenly because they are trying to grab everything and grasp the whole thing, and they are finding it hard to comment on it or to comment on the whole thing. But I know people are getting it, because that is why we're giving this explanation to this, bringing it to this point. Now, I believe they're going to get it, and they're getting it. So, Doctor, which means, according to what Prince have said, it simply means that and this is the right time to harvest our nations. That means the other times when we had to allow the weed and the wheat to grow, germinate, is because we are waiting for the fruit to appear. And what has made the fruit appear now is the election. So through the election, or by the election, we can now see the fruit is ready to be harvested. Do you think in that line?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelechi. I think his Prince is absolutely in order. The harvesting is already going on. It's not just something that is happening right now. The harvesting, Nigerians have become aware of the need to do this harvesting. And this harvesting can come in different forms. It can come from your community, from your villages, from even your own family, from the people around you. That harvesting has to come from within and from outside, because it will always be there. There will always be a need to do this harvesting. And one of the biggest need and one of the biggest ways we can start this harvesting is to make sure that the Nigerian presidential election in 2023 does not happen in Biafra land and in Oduduwa land. It's not going to happen. Because when we allow this election to happen in Biafra land, that means we are validating this criminality. We are validating these leaders that do not talk when you and I are killed. We are validating the people that kill our people if they express their opinions. How should we continue to validate such evil? So you participating in 2023 presidential election, you are validating them. You are telling them to continue doing what they're doing. And most Nigerians have said, enough is enough. We cannot validate you because you are not listening to us. You are not doing what we want you to do. We are the citizens. you are not doing what is going to bring the country together. You carry out policies that continue to divide the country. You carry out policies that continue to pit people against each other, divide and conquer, depopulating the citizens that you think they are a threat to you.
Doctor, I want to ask you because you always talk about the country and the citizens. That's talking about Nigeria. Do you think Nigeria is a country? Or
Nigeria is not. It's not. It's just a contraction. No, it's not.
You know, you say the country.
It's not, but I had to use that narrative so that our listeners who are not Nigerians will understand what we are talking about.
I think it's better for us to use the narrative since we understand that we don't have a country called Nigeria. So it's better for us to use the narrative of the nations in the contraption. So we actually say contraption. And then I think it's better so that we can educate the world.
Yes, I don't have a problem calling Biafra when I need to, or Oduduwa when I need to. I also need to make sure that our listeners who are not Nigerians, this is a live program, they understand when I say the caliphate, Nigerian leaders are killing my people in Biafra land. I need to let them know and understand where I'm coming from. So that is why I understand your narrative, but I also want to make sure that this problem is not just peculiar to Biafrans and Oduduwas. This is a problem. The whole Nigerians have to come together and solve that problem, because this contraption needs to break so that each group of people will be able to start rebuilding themselves, devoid of these terrorist invaders. So somebody asked a question and said there's the self-determinants, there's an Igboho group and Onitsere group. I wanted Mr. Kelechi to take that up, but I want to make something very clear. When the caliphate, those people that are perpetuating this criminality in Nigeria, when they know that people are standing up to challenge that criminality, what they do, they set up a parallel apparatus to attack the citizens, to attack those that have genuine interest. We see that, we saw that during the answers. People came out with good intentions to talk, to march against a bad system. And what did the caliphate do? What did they set up a parallel body. They set up, they unleashed their mayhem using a parallel people to mix up with these people, and then started to kill and maim the innocent people. It happens across the whole country, and we all need to understand this modus operandi. You see them in the Igbo land, you see them in Yoruba land, you see them in the Middle Belt, you see them in the North, you see them in Arawa. When genuine people who have genuine concern about where the so-called contraption is going to, because, I mean, every Nigerian initially have good intention. From after the war, there's good intention, even before the war, to see how this can work. But it's not working. It's not working. And coupled with the fact that those suggestions that have been made to these leaders, that if they carry this out, maybe there's a possibility for this to work. All of that, most of that, were not carried out. And that is why you see different parts of the major positions in Nigeria today being occupied by the Fulanis. The Navy, the police chief, the Navy chief, the military chief, the army chief, all the DSS chief, all these positions are being occupied by the Fulanis. So there have been a systemic way to make sure they perpetuate all these people in the terms of affairs of Nigeria. So those things that would have helped in somehow to make this country one entity is not there. It's been bastardized. And because those that commit this criminality, they have no remorse. They continued to perpetuate that, to force, to enforce. That's why it is very, very critical that Biafra must exit Nigeria. Oduduwa must exit Nigeria to avoid more deaths, to avoid more calamities happening to our people. It must happen for this criminality, for these killings to stop. We saw the other day where the Nigerian military are forcing southeastern boys and we saw the keke that was bringing them into a home where they are forcing them to train them to go and attack fellow Southeasterners. And I want to ask the Nigerian military, when did you start training Nigerians in somebody's house? When did somebody's home become a training ground for Nigerian military personnel? But we saw where these guys are being coerced. Some of them are very sick. Some of them were vomiting. The video is all over social media. Some of them have cramps on their leg. And you see the Nigerian military person asking them, do you want to leave? Do you want to? And you can see the fear in the eyes of those boys that they didn't really want to do this from their heart, but they are coerced into doing that. Probably if they say, I don't want to do that, they will just kill them and then say that they are terrorists. This is a law. This is a country that has no law. People are just being killed. People are begging to leave. So Biafra must exit Nigeria because we cannot continue to stay in a system where innocent citizens are being forced to fight against each other. We cannot continue to exist in a system where the leaders are scared to talk. We cannot afford to continue in a system where if people express their belief, they will kill them, they will murder them, they will lock them up. Do you know how many innocent Biafran citizens that are locked up in different cells, different jails across the country by this felony? They didn't do anything. The only thing they said is that they just want Biafra. Some of them, they march on the street and they gather all of them and dump them up in the jail. What did they do? The next thing, they go and burn down all their markets, burn down all their houses, burn down their resources. This is crime against humanity. And this cannot continue. And those that are perpetuating this criminality in Biafra land, they know themselves. This cannot continue. Biafra has to exit Nigeria so we can leave. People are begging to leave. People are begging so that their houses are not going to be burnt down. Their businesses are not going to be burnt down. And I know that the same caliphate that are perpetuating this criminality in cognizance and in partnership with the British, whose sole aim is the mineral resources in Biafra land and in other parts of Nigeria. That is just there. That is just there. Their interest is not about the people that are being murdered every day. If not, why haven't Britain said something about all the harmful killings where hundreds of different citizens were murdered? Why didn't they say something about that? So if they don't say anything, that means the lives of the people does not matter to them. And if the lives of my people does not matter to them, they have no audacity to say anything if my people say they want to exit this contraption called Nigeria. So those that are perpetuating this crime, whether they're in the Nigerian military, they're in the Nigerian police, in Nigerian DSS, and they continue because they have the guns, they have the helicopters, they have I promise, and I'm telling them, history is going to come upon them, and it's going to come up quickly on them. Because you cannot continue to marginalize, to kill innocent citizens just because of their beliefs, and you think you are going to go away with it. No. Violence begets violence. As they've started and they've continued over the years to massacre Biafrans just because of their belief, I promise you it's coming to you. It's going to come to you. Because those people you kill, their mothers, their fathers, their sisters, their brothers, they are going to rise up against you. It's only going to be a matter of time. So having any election in Biafra land is banned in 2023, this year. We don't need that. Because all our people that are locked up in different jails without sentencing, without committing any crime, how do you think we are just going to keep quiet and just forget them and come and do election for you to continue to perpetuate your criminality in Biafra land? No, it's not going to happen. When you vote, when people vote, and I'm telling all Nigerians, when you vote this 2023 presidential election, you are validating the criminality going on in Nigeria today. And this criminality, this massacre of Christians and Muslims in different parts of the world, in different parts of Nigeria, this killing is going on in Southern Kaduna, in Zamfara, in Benue, in Borno, in Anambra, in Enugu, in Imo, in the South. This killing will continue once you vote on this 2023 presidential election, because at the end of the day, all of them will come back together. Whether they are APC, PDP, Labour Party, they will all come together. It is you and I that will continue to suffer the consequences of their behavior. And that is why there will be no election in Biafra land in 2023 and in Oduduwa land too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was a great one. I don't know if Mr. Fality is there. So because yeah, okay. There's a particular to ask them. Thank you. Robin Obi says they understand what we're saying. So I believe they understand. They're just listening keenly and to actually make sure that they digest the whole information. That's why we're not having lots of the messages coming in. So Mr. Fality, there's a particular question asked by Royal Winner anyways. But before that, I would want you, because I want you to take these two questions together. You know, and we're looking at it from the perspective of the Oduduwa nation. We know that Oduduwa nation also seek and desire, thirst for freedom. And we are looking at the situation now, the election time or period, as the time of harvest, to harvest our nation from the contraption called Nigeria. Do you believe, and do you also see that in that light, that do you believe that this is the actual time for harvest? The fruit is ripe now, and for harvest, that means Oduduwa world or Oduduwa nation is ripe here now. The election have made it ripe, you know, harvest. Do you believe that? And also, somebody was asking, do we have two groups in Yoruba agitation? One group is following Igboho, another group is following Onitiri. Also, so I want you to take these two questions so that we can actually conclude on this note.
Very much, and my colleagues are very expassionated and shed light on that issue that are putting a few crumbs of my own with a conclusion first that I wholly agree with my colleagues that this is to harvest the indigenous nationalities out of a contraption called Nigeria. Why? We are at a very inflection point in the Nigerian experience, in the Nigerian experiment. The direction will really define the as human beings period of the indigenous nationality. We are at a critical point of inflection because over the manufactured criminalities, the manufactured social unrest, the manufactured problems, the manufactured leadership have all been done to serve one purpose: the colonial collaborators and their proxies to come to a point where they put a chokehold on the indigenous nationalities. Give two valid reasons why there should not be in 2023 in the Southern Protectorate. Number one, we need to recognize that the leg that the contraction called Nigeria stands on is the amalgamation 1914. That truly expired in 2014. That you hold an election, you are validating that amalgamation. Yes, you are renewing the amalgamation treaty of 1914, which expired in 2014. Number one. Secondly, you hold an election. The election stands existing constitution, and we all know, unless we've been ignorant, that the phantom nation called Nigeria a valid constitution. It's a military decree of 1999, which was stamped with the constitution on top. It says, we the people, anytime we hold, we are validating the constitution. The constitution that does not give us right to citizens in our own land. The constitution that permits who, when we were growing up, walked around with our sticks, but now are carrying AK-47. Thank you. God is in control, whoever that is. Yes. So that constitution that virtually keeps us captive, what we are validating anytime we hold an election. Those are the two valid. We cannot hold an election in the South in 2023. What's critical at this point is that over the years, they quickly infiltrated the Southern Protectorate homelands, importing people from all over West Africa, giving them Yoruba name, BVN number, giving them Igbo names, their numbers, just so that even if we decide to hold national standards, the referendum has already been polluted. And this is one reason why Chief Abiola decided strategically to go in the route of a $5 million, which is actually under United Nations rules of the people to make a declaration of a republic. So agree anymore with my colleagues for the reasons that have been. We are at a critical point of inflection in contraction experiment, and we need now or never, because the Southern Protectorate completely infiltrated by foreigners. They are for this election and then take orders from above. The second part of the question is about the.
Those who believe that there's always there's this yes, when people talking about this sect or that group of people or that group of people, we know that when it comes to freedom issues like this, people want to bring several kinds of narratives into this into the system. Yes.
Absolutely. To address that, and because this program, I want to go on public record affirmatively take responsibility for any are now. There is no discord in the Republic. You know, the Oduduwa Republic or Yoruba Nation. It is of the Fulani Caliphate to divide and conquer. The greedy politicians in Oduduwa Republic, the movement that are now manufacturing the discord structure. To understand the structure of the Oduduwa Republic, we have 3 visible leaders. We do have a military leader, Chief Dr. Sunday Adiamoigbo. We do have a deep in the person of a Chief Mrs. Onitiri Abiola. We do have a leader patron. We do have a leader patron, Professor Emeritus Banja Kintoye. They all agreed in one from the inception of the movement. The greedy political elites that have been funding the Fulani government to infiltrate and manufacture device. All the things that have been done, if you happen to follow some of the narratives, no one knows what is going on. What is going on has been very transparent member of the Oduduwa Republic. But because the Fulani government is seen very clearly that we as Yoruba nation, we are already out. Because when Missouri declared a republic through a declaration on November 20, it satisfied the United Nations and global standards for recognition, which simply meant that by making that declaration, global community and the power brokers, then of course we go on a reclaim process to occupy our territory by any nation that holds to respect the rules of international law. And because of that, all they're trying to do is manufacture a discord between our leaders. Now, what is common among all the 3 leaders? That we are all heading for Yoruba nation. We're all headed for Yoruba nation. To get to that nation is what the under the proxy of Yoruba politics are trying to use to divide us. But unfortunately, the train and self-determination already left the station. It left on November 20. So all the noise that you are seeing on social media is just to create a discord that doesn't exist. November 20 is globally recognized. So all we are doing is reclaiming our territories with a view to physical occupation. I hope I've made a
yes, we appreciate you for you have actually cleared it. Yes, you have cleared the air, and everybody out there should understand that there's no discord, there's no division. Forget about the narrative of the enemies. They always that is their modus operandi, including being their modus vivendi too, because they always want to create propaganda and disseminate propaganda to actually woo other people and to destabilize what we're doing. It's been there all the time. If you look at the book of Ezra, chapter 4 to chapter 6, you see when the temple, the Jerusalem temple was to be built, you see propaganda everywhere. It's always like that in time of history. So we understand that. I want to appreciate our guests today. They have done justice to the discussions today. And of course, we have so many things to talk about. I wish I have enough time to ask more questions, but I know we're going to have another time next week, Friday, to actually discuss further on this, because we're going to still look on the narrative of the tars, the wheat, and then the manure. You see, these are fundamentals, and there's so many sides to all of these, and we are going to actually look at this critically next week Friday. We're going to look at it critically. It's when we're already in interesting times, and between now and Friday, some interesting things are going to happen. And we want our people also to understand that these are part of the things that are going to happen, because we have to fight for our freedom. They shouldn't be perturbed. They shouldn't be shaken. They should be steadfast and all of that. On this note, I want to give time to our guests to give their final notes for 1-2 minutes each, so that we can round off for the day because of the time, so that they can do what they have to do. I'll begin it with let's say ladies first. So, Doctor, let's begin with you, so that we can say ladies first. In this kind of in this time, we say ladies first. So please, and your last words to the nation Oduduwa and the nation Biafra and other nations trapped in the contraption that desire to be free.
All right, thank you so much, Kelechi. Thank you, Prince Faleti, and my wonderful viewers that are watching this program. Again, it is an honor to be on this program to express the stand of Biafrans and my own personal stand on what is going on in that contraption called Nigeria. It is time for all of us to sit up. It is time for all of us to stand up and say, enough is enough. If your brother or your sister or your mother or your father has not been killed by these merciless criminals that are parading in different parts of Nigeria, if none of them have been killed, I want to use this opportunity to tell you that a lot of your brothers, your sisters, your family members, they are languishing in different jails across Nigeria. Many of them have been killed for nothing, just because they don't say what those in bracket the leaders want. Somebody is just eliminated without going through the normal process of the law. And this is Nigeria. Over the years, there are countries that are younger than Nigeria as per the independence, but they still exhibit some atom of human dignity, decency, equity, fairness in their countries. That is non-existent in Nigeria. If you speak against a leader, you speak against Buhari's wife, he will send her military or the DSS, and they will go and pick somebody and lock them up. Is that the job of the military? Is that the job of the security personnel that will grow a country? No, that is not. The most important, the killings, the insecurity going on in Biafra land, and it's not stopping, and nobody is talking. And because of that, Biafrans will not participate in the Nigerian presidential 2023 election. And I strongly believe the Oduduwas will not do that. I also strongly believe the Middle Belts will not participate. I also strongly believe that the Arewas will not participate. How many thousands of people have been killed in southern Kaduna? Nobody is talking about them. Look at the lawyer that was murdered on Christmas Day. Because he's a lawyer, because she's a lawyer. The whole world heard about that. Do you know how many Nigerians have been murdered under the same circumstances, and nobody is speaking for them? And this criminal government now is talking about an election. That will not happen in Biafra land. Another thing I want to talk about before I close is this. The other day I had somebody making a podcast talking about frontal lobe. Somebody that, I don't know, says she relates to Nnamdi Kanu. I want to challenge that person. I don't know who she is, but I challenge you. When you want to talk to your people, you show your face. You don't hide yourself on a radio or something and be dishing out some nonsensical words from your mouth about frontal lobe. I need to challenge that person. I don't know who she is. We can have a civil talk face to face about frontal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe, parietal lobe. And I wanted also to remind her that I think she has a problem with her temporal lobe. The temporal lobe deals with memory. Because if she knows the essence and the job of all the lobes in the brain, then she should not hide herself in the back of a radio and be dishing out some myopic analysis of what she knows about frontal lobe. I challenge her, and I need this video to go to whoever she is. Let her come online, and I'll be ready to take her up any day to discuss the role that she has played since Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped. We all saw when Showere's husband was kidnapped. We saw what she did. She was everywhere using her local community leaders to talk about the release of her husband. I want to challenge this woman talking about frontal lobe. Who have seen her? Where have we seen her? Talking about the release of her husband, talking to international bodies, talking to the radios, talking to television facially to propagate for the release of her husband who is being incarcerated in Nigerian dungeon. She has not done that, but she has the audacity to hide behind a radio program and be talking about frontal lobe. So I don't want to go into that myopic narrative, but if you can send this to her, please. I want to talk to whoever she is that is talking about frontal lobe, that there are other lobes. We have the parietal lobe, we have the occipital lobe, and I need her and the temporal lobe. This radio or this program, and let us really trash out and let me know where her problem is coming from. And on this note, I said thank you so much for our viewers, and hopefully by next week, Friday, we're going to continue this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Prince, please.
Thank you, my dear sister, for that wonderful exposition in your closing remarks. And thank you, our brother Demola. Thank you, Kelechi. Thank you, Biafrans and Oduduwans, Arewans, and all the freedom-loving people of this earth. I want to part with this expose. I've always told you all that understanding is everything. If you don't know it already, I want you to know it from today, that what you have in the contraption called Nigeria is not military, it's not law enforcement agencies that are local to you. I want you to know that what you have are actually occupying forces right from time immemorial. What you have are occupying forces. I know this very well because I'm an insider. I know this very well because at least my brother was in the military. Remember that all your military top brass are trained in Sandhurst, and that's in England. They are trained to suppress you. Their primary objective is to work against the citizens. This is why even a recruit in the army believes that it is more important than your professors and your leaders any day. I want you to understand the mindset, because if you don't understand it, you'll be querying, why are the military killing the people? Why are the military doing this? And why? You need to understand this so that you know who your enemies are. The Nigerian so-called military had always been in this mode against the civilians. Right from time immemorial, not to talk of now, they have taken terrorists and embedded in them. You want to know that your biggest enemy is the so-called military and the law enforcement agencies. If you haven't recognized this, recognize it now so you know who to stand up against. Britain, France, they replicate these things in all the contraptions they have set up across Africa. What you have in Africa are occupying forces. They don't have any relationship with you. So I need you to mark this down today so you can stand up and face these people squarely, because you want to live, and we must live. We must be recognized on this earth as human beings, not animals. You are dealing with occupying forces. Know it from today. On that note, I thank you all, and I wish Oduduwa and Biafran republics all that heaven wishes them. I thank you.
We appreciate you for that lovely closing remark. Mr. Demola, if you are there, please, your closing remark.
Very well. Thank you, Blessing, to my colleagues for the issues that we've discussed today that have actually get a lot from personally, to our listening audience for their patience. I just recap on some of the things we've talked about today, especially the last comments out. We are ready for harvest. We couldn't be any more ready for the two reasons that I have stated, that any time we do post 2014, we are actually renewing slave masters amalgamation treaty of 1914, which we are renewing the amalgamation treaty, which is the enslavement treaty. To make matters, since our independence, have been ruled by a so-called by the people, but was labeled as by the people. Anytime we go through an election, we are validated constitution, which we rendered invalid a month or so ago by the Constitutional Force Majeure Nations. Now, of the Southern Protectorate, all the noise about obedience is nothing but a chant of suicide. In no unambiguous terms, that if you must be obedient to your conscience, be obedient to your convictions, the reality of the atrocity and the enslavement that the Fulani Caliphate being proxied by the chiefs who are running for the presidency are continue to pile upon. Your future is at stake. Unfortunately, you experience the Southern Protectorate. I don't even want to use that name, Nigeria. That's why I keep saying Southern Protectorate. Yeah, richness of the Southern Protectorate that we enjoyed growing up, but it was much better than what most to now. So when you start shouting obedient, because somebody has promised you 5,000 worthless, you are selling your future away. Yes, you are future away. They say that the nation that forgets its history to repeat the mistakes of the past. When you pass, essentially what you are doing is that you are putting with the so-called independence, try to lift up your neck again. If you know what's been going on in southeastern Nigeria and southwestern Nigeria now, the Southern Protectorate, to be living in a cave, not to admit that life is bad. For one, yes. If there's such a if the last 20 years in the contraction called Nigeria is a very good introduction. Nobody wants to go to hell. That being the case, when they say obedient, oh yes, you need to be obedient to the dangers that you're putting your family now and going through the 2023 election, and to the rest of the listening or the Oduduwa nation. The Oduduwa nation did the independence in November 2020. We are going through a risk to be followed immediately by physical occupation, all being done much peacefully so, in accordance with international law. Any more bloodshed. But you see, the Fulani Caliphate, they know that the ship has left the station. They will do any and everything. They are running afoul of the ire of the international community, and that's why there are piece of discord into the movement. Initially, a few months ago, they started with the Igbos are not friends with this. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you are following the news, memorandum of understanding on Zoom a few months ago, where the Biafra Republic on Zoom did a memorandum of cooperation. It's like a mini Article 5 of the NATO Charter, an attack on the other. So when that failed, there were not the Yorubas. Now they are moving within the indigenous, trying to plant discord within the leadership. You can expect that in public too. When it comes, if you don't already have it, there is unity of purpose, and that is to break away from the collusion of colonization. The only way to do that effectively is to recognize that any and everything that was man-made, specifically to continue to enslave us, take over your ancestral land. Unfortunately, by people who have no claim to the ancestral land of the Southern Protectorate. In the history of mankind, there's never been a tribe called out. There's only been an Hausa tribe. So when the tribe was manufactured, it was manufactured to cloud of the youth. And guess what? They canceled history in the syllabus of the Nigerian educational system, just so that you don't know your history, just so that you don't know that there's no. But rest assured, even the Hausas now are rumbling the reality of their captivity. Thank you so very much, and I hope to see you Friday. Thank you, blessing, and to all my colleagues.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that lovely one there, and I want to appreciate all our guests, for this opportunity that you have given to Biafrans to actually hear from you. And of course, we look forward to having this forum again, this program again, next week Friday, 4 p.m. Biafra Oduduwa time, and we hope that the people are going to digest the information they've gotten, and the people are going to work with it. We appreciate you. We say thank you. I say thank you from here. And Biafrans Oduduwa Nation and people are saying thank you to you for giving your time to speak to the people. We appreciate you so much. And we say, please enjoy the rest of your day and wherever you are. And of course, in the way that you can enjoy. We are still in the celebration time, celebration season. So it's part of it. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. And of course, we want to thank everyone who is watching, everyone who have sent a message, everyone who have actually commented and who have asked a question or something. Wherever you are, we appreciate you. We know that you have gained so much from this program, and we want you to like this video, share it on all your social media platforms. Let the people begin to listen to this. For those people who are not able to join, they can hear the message and hear the message of this. These are, I call them professionals because, there's a difference between an intellectual and a Nigerian, and we keep saying it, and that's the gospel. We have a difference, it's clear difference. Opposite is either you are a Nigerian or you are an intellectual, but we know that those who are intellectuals will know the value of the message from these professionals here, and then will digest and utilize them. For the Nigerians will throw it away. If you are a Nigerian, then you know what to do. If you're an intellectual, you know what to do. Thank you all. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Prince. Thank you so much, Mr. Demola. Thank you so much, Dr. Ngozi. We appreciate you so much. And we say good day. I don't say good night because I don't know the time zone now. Good day. So we say good day. Thank you so much, everyone.
It's
good.
And thank you too. Thank you too. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Kelechi, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Mr. Demola, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Thank you.